Peace and welcome into the latest episode of Men of a Certain Age, The Soup. As always, I'm Fro. I got my man Panero with me and my man Peace, fellas. How you? What's up with you, Panero?
Peace to my guys. Yo, Don, we was talking earlier before the show, the pre-show about the purgatory of sports.
Yeah.
Man, I want to send a shout out to my girl Angel Reese, man. Thumbs up to Angel Reese with the rebound and the doubles. I like to give a thumbs down to Jabba the Whitlock, man. I can't stand that.
Fuck out of here. What did Whitlock give you this week? What was that?
He hit me. He was hitting us with the she ain't talented. She jealous of Caitlin Clark. He even said she run funny and shit. Nigga, do you run anywhere other than to the fridge? You know, get the fuck out of here.
That's a fact. Shout out to Angel Reese, man, being big on the boards and getting a double, averaging that double for the season, man. We gonna push hard for that Rookie of the Year. You know,
riding with you, Angel.
As we take later on this afternoon, the Sky and the Fever get it on. So we gonna get a chance to see Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and Carmela Cardoza go at it one more time in the hardwood. And as far as Jabba the Whitlock,
fuck out of here. Fuck out of here. Early. Get him up out of there early.
Peace, UH, man. How are you? How was your week, yo?
It's good, man. Good, man. A very productive week. Course schedule was good. I actually finalized it, so I'm going to be doing certain courts on Mondays. It's basically all day, so I won't be in the office. I'll be driving around all day. And then I got either Tuesday or Wednesday with my assistant, Wednesday or Thursday with my assistant. Tuesday or Wednesday is one of the days she work. I'll probably do another county, but other than that, everything's good. Oh, I do want to mention this. I love Atlanta, right? But the streets of Atlanta man, that's the reason I'm always in the house, man, because the streets did me real wrong. Last Sunday, I was on my way after the show. I was on my way to get some farmers market. So I dipped off 75 on a 20, man, and it was a van driving crazy in front of me. So I'm looking to the right so I can, dip onto 20. I felt a boom. I'm like, what the hell? Man, I blew my tire off, ripped my tire off.
Oh, no.
Yeah, man, I hit something. I don't even know, man, because I was looking. You got to turn your eyes that way to look and turn. You know what I'm saying? When I turned, I just heard a boom, and I was like, to my niece, I was like, what is that? She's like, I don't know. Man, we must have drove maybe like another 200 feet. My joint just shredded all over the highway, right? Shout out to Atlanta 511 to 511 down here with the State Farm roadside assistance came on, put the jack on my joint, and got me right. It damaged the undercarriage, not the undercarriage, like the under molding in my car, so I got to get that fixed.
Wow.
But yeah, man, I see why there's so many tire shops in Atlanta, bro. It literally is one every quarter mile, and I honestly see why now.
That's wild. Not the streets of San Francisco, but the streets of Atlanta.
Dangerous, man.
It's crazy. It's crazy, P. We from up top. We from the 716, so we used to the potholes and crazy shit. But you got to realize, man, the streets and the roads and the interstates be fucked up heavy down here too. You know,
I didn't realize that.
And you gotta watch. You gotta drive with your extra caution on, so you don't get up in that pothole and tear your rim up. Most importantly, man, you know, y'all didn't have any no accidents or nothing major happening, but other than having that flat tire. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that was good.
But as we continue on, man, thanks for tuning in for this episode of The Soup. Please like, share, subscribe, and also comment down low. And also hit that notification, that bell, so when the soup is hot, you can get it right off the stove. You know what I mean? On this particular episode, man, we've got an exciting show. We're going to get heavy into some things that we've been talking about and mentioning on past episodes, but this time we're going to actually add that into the soup one time and stir it up and let it cook a little bit deeper. So on this particular episode, man, we're going to talk about the governor of Maryland, Mr. Wes Moore. Shout out to Wes Moore, man. We're going to also talk about Project 2025. We've been mentioning that a couple times on some episodes prior to this, and we're going to take a deeper look at Project 2025. Also, man, we got to talk about the safety concerns as Black men. I don't know if you guys realize it or not. It was a plot by a man from the state of Arizona. He was coming to Atlanta to try to incite a civil war or start the Civil War between blacks and whites. So we're going to talk about that. And also, man, there was a law passed in the state of Louisiana, whereas the 10 Commandments are going to be present in all public schools in the state of Louisiana. So we're going to build on that in this particular episode of The Soup. But before we get into all of that, man, this week was a special week because Major League Baseball honored the Negro Leagues, man. And I apologize for not bringing this to the light earlier. Major League Baseball has gone ahead and integrated all of the stats from the Negro Leagues. So now all of those stats now count towards all the records that are in Major League Baseball. So this past week, they went to Alabama and went to this particular baseball park where the Negro League teams played. And one of our legends that we grew up on, I grew up eating his
candy bar, right?
Candy bar.
Mr. October.
And they did a celebration. Rest in peace to Willie Mays. Willie Mays was supposed to be able to show up and they were going to honor him, but unfortunately he passed away at the age of 93. So rest in peace to Willie Mays, the Say Hey Kid. They had this honoring with the San Francisco Giants and the St. Louis Cardinals. And during the celebration, man, they brought out a lot of the players that are still alive. They brought them out and they honored them. And they also talked to some of our newer legends, I would say, like Reggie Jackson, Barry Bonds, Ken Griffey Jr. So Reggie, when they brought Reggie out, Reggie played in this particular park, and Reggie had some things to say. And I thought this was important for us to start the show with, in the light of Congressman, what's his name? Byron Donald, Mr. Two Names himself.
Two first names.
First name, last name.
Two first names. Byron Donald. He mentioned about Jim Crow and tried to paint a picture that, you know, Jim Crow really wasn't that bad. And when I saw Reggie get up there and say what he had to say, man, I had to bring it to the soup, man. So let's go ahead and listen to what Mr. October had to say.
That's a hell of a nickname, Mr. October.
How emotional is it for you to come back to a play that you played with one of the greatest teams around?
Alex, when people ask me a question like that, it's like coming back here is not easy. The racism that I played here, when I played here, the difficulty of going through different places where we traveled. Fortunately, I had a manager and I had players on the team that helped me get through it. But I wouldn't wish it on anybody. People said to me today, I spoke and they said, you think you're a better person? You think you won when you played here in Concord? I said, I would never want to do it again. I went into restaurants and they would point at me and said, can't eat here. Go to a hotel and they said, can't stay here. We went to Charlie Finley's country club for a welcome home dinner and they pointed me out with the N-word. He can't come in here. Finley marched the whole team out. Finally, they let me in there. He said, we're going to go to the diner and eat hamburgers. We'll go where we're wanted. Fortunately, I had a manager, Johnny McNamara, that if I couldn't eat in the place, nobody would eat. We'd get food to travel. If I couldn't stay in a hotel, they'd drive to the next hotel and find a place where I could stay. Had it not been for Raleigh Fingers, Johnny McNamara, Dave Duncan, Joe and Sharon Rudy, I slept on their couch 3-4 nights a week for about a month and a half. Finally, they were threatened that they would burn our apartment complex down unless I got out.
Wow.
I wouldn't wish it on anyone. The year I came here, Bull Connor was the sheriff the year before. Took minor league baseball out of here because in 1963, the Klan murdered 4 black girls, children, in 11, 12, 14 years old at a church here and never got indicted. They were from the Klan. Life magazine did a story on them like they were being honored. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. At the same time, had it not been for my white friends, had it not been for a white manager, and Rudy Fingers and Duncan and Lee Myers, I would have never made it. I was too physically violent. I was ready to physically fight some. I'd have got killed here because I'd have beat someone's ass. And you'd have saw me in an oak tree somewhere.
Reggie, I can't even imagine. It's awful you had to go through that. Appreciate you sharing the rawness and the honesty.
Reggie.
So yeah, man, peace to Reggie Jackson, man. That encapsulates everything right there. Sometimes we, as a folk, we don't pay enough attention to our history and sit down and talk to our elders so we can understand what they've been through. We all grew up watching Reggie Jackson do his thing, eating the Reggie Jackson candy bar, Mr. October, turning on WPIX and watching the Yankees. You know what I'm so it wasn't that long ago that this man played. And then you have congressmen like Mr. Two First Names Donald get up there and quote Jim Crow like it was a peaceful time, like it was serenity for us as a folk, man. When you see Reggie up there building like that, Lord, what speeds the heartbeat?
Man, Reggie Jackson. You know what? It takes me to the CRT conversation, the critical race theory. You're not going to hear about this in schools. Reggie just educated a lot of people on national TV. You know what I mean? And it takes me to where they say, we don't want to teach stuff like that in schools because we don't want to offend the white kids. But like he said, he had white friends who helped him. He had white friends who would be like, if you can't eat here, we can't eat here. So back in slavery, there were actually white abolitionists. To say that there shouldn't be CRT in schools is just a bunch of bullshit, because what you can do is take the positive out of it, that there were white people in that particular time and Jim Crow and slavery days that were trying to be helpful, that were actually against it. And I like the fact that we got an opportunity to hear from someone who was, I think Reggie's like 78. Like, he lived through this. You know what I'm saying? It's not in the book. He's actually telling you, man. And I appreciate his story, man. I really do.
UH, man, Mr. October, Reginald Martinez Jackson up there speaking his truth, man. And you think about it, we only a generation removed us. We only a generation from drinking from different water fountains. You know what I'm saying? When you see Reggie keeping it real like that, man, is it something that the youth need to really hold on to and pay attention to and feel?
I think they do, man, because baseball has so much history, and I think that just because of the slower pace of baseball, that it's losing popularity. That being said, people like Reggie Jackson, Willie Mays, Jackie Robinson, all those people, Derek Jeter to a certain extent. These people need to be recognized as part of our history because of the struggles that they had to go through. Now, obviously, Derek Jeter didn't have to go through as much, but when you have the Boston media writing about you at any point in time, there's always going to be something that's going to be said. I said Boston, not the Celtics. So it's important that we get a chance to hear stuff, people like Reggie, because Reggie was really that dude. You know what I mean? Reggie with the glasses and the afro and the plastic helmet, the bar and everything. Reggie was really that guy. It's amazing to hear this, that he had the strength and that he had people around him who helped him, who were allies, who helped bring out one of the greatest athletes of the 20th century.
You think about it, we were kids in the 70s. And it's like during that era, in the 70s, the late 70s, going into the 80s, you had certain Black athletes that stood out, that you knew that's who they were. Reggie Jackson was one of those Black athletes, like OJ was at that particular time.
Dr. J, yeah.
Like Dr. J, and Magic was becoming during those times. But again, here on The Soup, man, we're going to do everything we can to keep our people on point and up to date. We're going to give you that culture on these episodes of The Soup, man. As we continue on, please share, subscribe, and comment down low, and also hit that bell so you get that notification when The Soup is ready. Also, man, this week, Governor of the great state of Maryland, Wes Moore did a major thing, man, when he actually pardoned 175,000 marijuana convictions, man. Let's take a look and see what Governor Moore had in store.
It's 10 a.m. on the East Coast, where Maryland Governor Wes Moore is making a major announcement. He plans to pardon 175,000 marijuana convictions in the state.
This is a responsibility that I take very seriously. And that is why this morning, with deep pride and
Soberness also.
over 175,000 convictions Thank you all. We need to stop that so I can get you to sign your pardon. But I will pardon these convictions, all convictions related to the possession of cannabis and cannabis paraphernalia. Maryland legalized cannabis by referendum. This administration has stood up what many believe to be one of the most equitable and efficient adult cannabis market rollouts of any state in the entire country. In March, we conducted our first adult use cannabis licensing round, and all 174 licenses were awarded exclusively to social equity applicants.
So for those of you new to the suit, that's Wes Moore again, the governor of the great state of Maryland. Is Wes Moore the future of the Democratic Party?
I think so. I think that he's got the look, obviously, in the right part of the country on the East Coast. He's obviously bringing about legislation. He's forward thinking. Glad to see that he's got my vote just for that. Unless he does something crazy in the future, you never know. If I ever
You mean paying off a porn star or trying to rig an election?
Oh, no, that's not enough. That's not enough. He got to shoot somebody. She got to shoot somebody at Camden Yards. In the middle of an Oreo game for me to really take his vote away. But no, seriously, I think that's a great job, man. Because it's happening on two levels. Not only is it freeing people from that criminal record, but it's also giving them, minorities and people who are socially disaffected an opportunity to be the primary distributors and profiteers of it. And that's what it's about. You can pardon people all day, but if you don't give people a fair stab, an opportunity to make money off of it, that's something completely different. For perfect example, then I'm gonna let D-Rock, but in the state of Ohio, they have the whole rec thing going on. They don't have rec, they got medical and dispensaries and so on and so forth. John Boehner, you remember him? You ever heard of him before? Remember how John Boehner was? He was the former Republican Speaker of the House, right?
Hell no, they won't.
Oh, hell no, you can't.
He's a former Republican Speaker of the House under Obama. Fought Obama tooth and nail, right? But at the end, he realized he just had a record, and he was like, yo, I know what I'm doing is wrong, and he tapped out, right? John Boehner is now one of the leading marijuana lobbyists for the state of Ohio, both nationally and in the state of, and regionally, obviously in the state of Ohio. Somebody who locked, I'm sure, thousands and thousands, and is responsible for thousands and thousands of people being locked up under his legislation in his district. So it's good to see that Wes is giving them the opportunity to have actual inclusion in it economically, and I applaud him.
They used to run his ad quite a bit on satellite radio. John Boehner trying to get people to come to these conventions about the marijuana, about the marijuana business and different things of that nature. So when I heard that, of course, that actually raised my eyebrows. It's like, yeah, he smells the money. Lord P. Wes Moore, man. Wes Moore pardoning 175,000 marijuana convictions, man. That's heavy. That's a lot of people was like, man, I'm gonna be able to hit the bricks soon.
Give us free. Yo, New York State, I like the fact that he did that because maybe it'll set a trend. Because here in New York State, we convict more people on marijuana than any other state in the nation. It is ridiculous, man. Let these people go, man. Now, it comes down to you have to let these people out because marijuana is obviously legal. You got people who's lost their licenses for jobs because of marijuana. You got people who's lost their children, their kids due to marijuana use. You know what I'm saying? Give these people their kids back, man. You gonna make it legal? It's just crazy here. You got like people who lost housing because they were living in government housing and they had marijuana. You done lost your apartment over this. Come on, man. I like the example he's setting. It needs to come here to New York. Let these people out. Give these people their jobs back. Give them their babies back. Give them their jobs back, man. Come on, man.
No question about it, man. Once again, we're going to say shout to Wes Moore, but that's somebody we definitely need to keep an eye on going forward in the Democratic Party. We all are like-minded when we look at Joe Biden and say Joe Biden is too old to actually be the commander-in-chief. But at this point, it is what it is. He's definitely not going to duck out of the race unless something happens either physically, mentally, with him in order for him to bow out. But I like Wes Moore. I like how he's moving out there in Maryland. And as you said, Don, hopefully he keeps his head on straight because he's up and coming in the Democratic Party. And obviously, if ever there were someone on the Republican side that spoke to me, I would give that person some type of consideration. The GOP I ain't trying to be no MC. They ain't talking to me.
They ain't talking with you.
They ain't talking to me. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-oh, here we go again. First it was Don, now it's Fro. Hold on, let me hold that one. GOP ain't fucking with me.
Yeah, they talking to me.
So we gotta keep it moving.
We might have to put that on a t-shirt, y'all, and start peddling that right here on the suit. The GOP, they ain't fucking with me. You know what I mean? One time down. But yeah, as we continue on, man, again, shout out to Wes Moore for making a major move and pardon those convicted prisoners out there in Maryland. And hopefully more governors throughout the United States are paying attention to this and follow suit. As we continue on, man, on this hot, sizzling episode of The Soup, this is something that you and P have been bringing up on The Soup for quite a while, and that is the 2025 project, man. And it's been all over my timeline. It's been all over the internet. And I finally said to myself, it's time for us to go ahead and add that to the soup. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and introduce Project 2025 to the soup, and then we're going to come back and we're going to build on it.
Blueprint for a second Trump term? It may be this document, more than 900 pages long, outlining big changes to government as we know it.
If we don't win, this country is finished.
Making a splash everywhere from Congress.
Project 2025 is a far-right manifesto.
To TikTok.
Project 2025 likely isn't going to happen.
Making a stir among progressives.
Is a 900-page blueprint for an authoritarian takeover.
Oh, just the right blueprint for reshaping America.
Project 2025, the brainchild of former Trump officials and conservative think tank, the Heritage Foundation.
Weaponized conservatives ready to do battle against the deep state.
That battle plan outlining several key proposals, including a federal government under much tighter presidential control. Even now, independent agencies like the Department of Justice would answer almost entirely to the president. It's a controversial idea known as unitary executive theory that would streamline decision-making and potentially replace many career civil servants with political appointees presumably loyal to Mr. Trump. The plan calls for more spending for a U.S.-Mexico border wall, a signature Trump proposal back in 2016.
Build that wall.
More federal power to control immigration and increased fees for the immigrants allowed to stay. On this side of the border, big cuts to corporate taxes and income tax for America's highest earners, cuts to federal investments in renewable energy and carbon reduction goals, and more fossil fuel and energy production. Project 2025 also taking aim at what it calls woke culture warriors, calling for deleting a long list of terms from all federal rules, including sexual orientation and gender identity. It also would eliminate the education department. It's not uncommon for think tanks to create wish lists for governments in waiting, but with the race for the White House basically deadlocked, Democratic opposition to the plan is ramping up against what Congressman Jared Huffman, behind the Stop Project 2025 task force, calls a dystopian plot.
I think what troubles me the most is just the explicitness of the extremism. We've never seen them talk in this kind of a swaggering, explicit way about basically gutting our democracy. They're doing it now, and the people who are saying these things are the most inner circle leaders of Donald Trump's political world.
Those behind Project 2025 accuse Democrats of fear-mongering.
This really would tee up an incoming administration to achieve more than we've ever seen under a conservative president before.
As for the Trump campaign's response to all things Project 2025, the campaign says unless it's coming from the former president's own mouth, no aspect of future presidential staffing or policy announcements should be deemed official.
Of what Project 2025 is. It's truly scary if you think about it. And that's the reason why we continue to harp and will continue to harp on vote. We can't afford to have Trump get back into office. As I said, we started the show with the tone from Reggie Jackson talking about how it was. And these people are trying to, if they get back into power, they're trying to make it back to how it was, plus 100,000 million pounds of other shit along with it. Project 2025.
I've actually been talking about Project 2025. I initially heard of it, I think last spring or last summer, and I put it on my Facebook page. I was like, y'all need to check out Project 2025. Nobody really paid attention to it. I mentioned it again, I think, and some people picked up on it. And now I see it's starting to get more aim, it's starting to get more traction as we get closer to it. So I'm glad to see that. But it's something I've been aware of for quite some time. And I think that the primary part that we need to worry, that we need to be concerned about, is the part of it that is fundamentally white Christian nationalist. There are parts of 2025, Project 2025, that talk about dismantling the Department of Justice, the FBI, Homeland Security, regulation of the FCC, the FTC, getting rid of the National Institute for Health Care Acts.
Everything. They're trying to do away with everything, yeah?
Affirmative action, so on and so forth. And it's a very multi-layered objective, because what they're really...
We got a pause, fam?
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, fam.
Sorry about that. My internet went, I don't know what the hell's happening, but what they're trying to do is they're basically trying to replace the entire federal government and with people who think like them. And obviously, they're not like us. You know what I mean? At all, in any way, shape, or form. And it's bigger than just being a black thing at this point, because it's a democracy thing, and it's going to affect every single person in the United States. What they failed to mention about, as far as the immigrant portion of it, is that they're authorizing death to immigrants. You know what I mean? That's part of the plan as well. So we could very rarely be stepping into an age of fascism similar to the Nazis in the late 30s, probably 1930s and early 1940s, and all the things that came with that. It's really something that we should really pay attention to. And I was thinking earlier that it's not so much that I've got a problem with Trump. You know what I mean? I really don't, because I realize that Trump is a capitalist. He's going to do whatever he's going to do. And he's a POS. You know what I'm saying? He's a piece of shit. So whatever. My main problem is the enablers, are his supporters, because those are the people who have to vote him into office. And those are the people who are willing to risk the traditional American way of life, traditional, as we can say to a certain extent, for power, because they are so paranoid and so uneducated and so unwilling to change that they are willing to burn it all to the ground just to stay in power. Those are the people that I'm concerned with. The tricky part about that is that you don't know who's who. Yeah. Some black people are like, oh, Trump this, Trump that, and he did this, he did that. Okay, that's cool. Understand that's your right to vote for whoever, but understand who's behind Trump. Understand the Stephen Millers. Understand, you know what I'm saying? Understand these people that are out here. The guy we talked about last week, Edward. This guy, Robert Volk. There are people out there that wield more power and influence that are literally going to change your daily life from what it is today. There's no more contraceptive pills. There's basically going to be no more abortions after that point. So there are things that go above and beyond of our petty day-to-day stuff that we find humor with or that we make fun of on the internet. Shit is very serious, and we better vote.
Doc, I was going to say you and tell the folks how we can combat Project 2025. How can we combat it?
Vote.
Once again,
vote. It's not rocket science. It's no need to talk around it. There's no need to talk above it. It may have a deep philosophical meaning to it. It's simple. Vote. And
when you were mentioning the despicables, you forgot to mention Mr. Evil himself, Steve Bannon.
Oh my God.
Mr. I wear 4 shirts for no reason at all.
The country discovered another thing about Steve Bannon on Sunday, which is that he seems to prefer to wear multiple shirts at the same time. Bannon wore a black button-down shirt over what appears to be a black polo-style shirt, and it's topped off with a black blazer. Does Steve Bannon always dress like a 19th century shoemaker? Here he's at CPAC earlier this year wearing 3 shirts, 2 button-down, and a blazer. Here he is a week after the presidential election rocking 2 button-down shirts again in public. Here he is in July of last year holding up 1 finger while wearing 2 button-down shirts. And here Bannon is last February wearing what could possibly be 3 button-down shirts. On stage with Kellyanne Conway during Trump's victory speech, looking somewhat dapper in 3 shirts, 2 of which are button-down. And here's one with Sarah Palin. He's been dressing like this for years, but it's not a secret anymore.
You know what I mean? So they said they got him at a medium. He going to a medium up in. They said where he was going.
Arkansas or some shit like that, right? They got him somewhere far out, and then they gonna give him diesel therapy back to Rikers Island. He get diesel therapy on the way back to Rikers Island. So that should be nice.
So Lord, before we add a little bit more flavor to the soup, man, Project 2025. When you hear and read with these people, it's a lot of sinister people out here. You talk about Mr. Sinister. There's a lot of sinister people out here, man, that are very wicked. And we're not going back to those days whereas we had to fear for our lives just for being who we are. You know what I'm saying? Project 2025, Lord.
I think a lot of this has to do with Barack Obama. I think
everything.
I think it's because we allowed a black man to become president. I think the majority was like, we got to turn this democracy into a Christian theocracy. You know what I'm saying? It's like they don't want it to happen again. They want to make sure that white Christian males stay in power to a point where they know that they could be outpopulated by Latinos. So they want to ban abortions. Not ban it because it's dangerous, but because they want more white people. This is crazy. You're going to ban abortion. You're going to ban contraception. They're even banning words like diversity and gender. It's 900 pages of craziness. You know what I'm saying? And we were talking about Jim Crow before. And I was telling you how Chris Rock's mom had to go to a veterinarian to get her tooth pulled.
Right.
Yeah. He said there was a Jim Crow book of, I think it was almost 700 pages of just rules about how you can't even look a white person in the eye if you're walking towards them. You have to cross the street. You know what I'm saying? They trying to take us back because they trying to make America great again for them. You know what I'm saying? And use your vote because we not going for it. It's not going to happen. Get out there and vote, man, because if Trump gets in, this heritage group tried this shit a long time ago with Reagan. I did a little research. You know what I mean? They're not fucking around. They're going to try to take over and make this just a white male dominated country. You gotta vote, man. You gotta vote.
White rich male.
White rich male.
White,
Yeah.
white Christian rich male. Well, white, like we said last week, like the founders of the country, white Christian landowners.
You know,
And let me add one more thing, fam, with these regulations, man. The rolling back of the regulations will prevent us from having clean air, clean water. They don't give a fuck, man. It's crazy.
At all. And this goes back to last episode when we were talking about OCT. And again, I ain't talking about Carl Thomas. I'm talking about Clarence Thomas. That is the reason why it's a big fucking deal for him to be on the bird with that GOP donor like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You got these guys and these foundations funding or putting together the playbook for Project 2025. It's the same people that he's jet setting across the country with. And then also these guys are talking about protecting against wokeism, which is one of the most craziest, most bullshit terms white people have co-opted. I equate it to white guilt, right? Reggie tells his story about what he went through, and all of a sudden white people become uneasy. They become uncomfortable about it. But at the end of the day, man, that's history. That's y'all history. All y'all history is not great. And to act like it was and then don't want to learn about our history so there can be some understanding, so there can be some type of level playing field, that's wrong. We can't do that. That wokeism is a parasite to America. And it's ridiculous with that. And this Project 2025 is a very dangerous thing, man. And we're going to continue to talk about it, and we're going to continue to rip it apart, and we're going to continue on and harping on voting, because that is one of the most important things we can do as a people is vote, man. Now, as we continue on, man, go ahead, Don.
I'll say you might not be able to vote after this shit. You better.
Better vote while you can.
Exactly. Before you lose it all together. And then they tell you who you're going to vote for. You won't have a choice. As we continue on, please share, subscribe, and comment down below, and hit that notification so that you can get this soup when it's hot, man. Now, as we continue on, man, as we move off of this 2025, Project 2025, there was a murderer who was heading down to Atlanta, man, with a bunch of bullshit on his mind. In this country right now, how safe do you feel? Do you feel as safe as you did 5 or 10 years ago? Or are you constantly watching more than you ever have?
It's different with me because I moved to Atlanta because I didn't want to deal with the racism of Buffalo. The cops, racist ass white people, the racist ass power structure. I was like, yo, I can't take it. You know what I mean? I had an opportunity to move down here. And I've basically been comfortable down here. The thing about Atlanta is that it's changed so much. It's become gentrified like a lot of other places. So with gentrification, you have obviously the induction of different race, more diverse as far as races and ethnicities are concerned. And you get used to, even though it's basically a black city, you get used to being around white people or seeing white people here or this race there, this way. But for someone to plot and plan to come to Atlanta and do something like that, I really don't think that would work. Just because of the fact that, number one, he wouldn't get, I can't see where he would have a mass shooting of anybody in any area of Atlanta unless he was literally catching people coming from the car to the concert. You know what I mean? He wouldn't be able to get inside the concert with a weapon, and he damn sure don't want to start busting at people in the grocery store or by their cars, or because that's an instant loss. Everybody down here has a weapon. That's one thing you have to keep in mind. It's not like up top when you see a gun, you're like, oh, you know, down here in the South,
it's right of law. So what we're talking about here, man, is about a week ago, there was a Phoenix, Arizona man that got arrested. He was on his way to Atlanta to try to incite the civil war between blacks and whites. So he was going to Phillips Arena to shoot it up and also to try to blow it up during a Bad Bunny concert. I would have news for him. He would have caught a lot of minorities, but it wouldn't have been
not that many.
A lot of black minorities at the Bad Bunny
Probably
concert.
Latinos.
So let's take a look and see what this clown had in store, man.
That boy would have caught all of Gwinnett County and been mad.
FBI broke up a plot to stop a mass shooting. Back in October, the FBI says it began its investigation into Mark Prieto after a confidential informant who spoke with him more than a dozen times over 3 years at various gun shows said Prieto called for a mass shooting targeting blacks, Jews, and Muslims before the 2024 presidential election. During a January gun show in Phoenix, Prieto tried recruiting that informant and an undercover FBI agent. According to court records, Prieto wanted to carry the plan out in Georgia because, he says, when he was a kid, that was one of the most conservative states in the country. More specifically, Prieto wanted to carry out the attack at a rap concert because he said there would be, quote, a high concentration of African Americans. During a February meetup at a gun show, Prieto began offering details of the plan, including the number of guns to be used. During this meetup, Prieto sold that undercover agent a gun for $2,000 and said he would also like to use grenades during the attack because it can, quote, cause panic. At another gun show in March in Prescott Valley, Prieto provided more specific details. That attack would take place in Atlanta at State Farm Arena on May 14th or 15th. Performing that night was rapper Bad Bunny. During that gun show, Prieto sold an AR-15 rifle to that undercover agent for $1,000 and told them to, quote, bring as many magazines as the gun could carry. In the following weeks, agents continued to monitor Prieto's movements. During an April meetup, Prieto continued to fine-tune his plans, even discussing heading east to do reconnaissance, but emphasized the attack, quote, must happen prior to the election and as soon as possible. Authorities arrested Prieto back on May 14th as he crossed into New Mexico. Investigators say he had several guns in his truck, even more found at his home in Prescott while executing a search warrant.
You really have to be a sick individual to have that much hate in your heart to want to come to a whole nother city, to a whole nother destination to try to hurt, kill, and destroy people's lives, man. Panero, do you feel comfortable all the time when you go into supermarkets and places of business all the time?
No, not at all. Here in Buffalo, not just a few years ago, we had the shooting on Jefferson at Tops. Like, I frequent that Tops. And the irony of this is we were just talking about 2025. Who wants to defund the FBI? Now, without the FBI, this shooting could have actually took place. You know what I'm saying? They actually stopped this dude from going to Phillips Arena and killing people. It's crazy. And it's weird how you guys are South, and you would think there would be more racism in the South. But Don was saying he escaped it from the North, from up here. It's so segregated here in Buffalo, man. It's ridiculous. So no, I don't feel safe. You know what I mean? That's why I hang around my air likes. But if I have to go with my job, I have to go to the South towns, and I have to go to Gowanda and Franklinville and things of that nature. And you know they pulling me over because I frequent it. So it's like DWB is just continuous here. And who knows, depending on how that person feels that day, or if they had a bad day, but if I didn't have the vernacular to flip things, there's a possibility I won't make it home. No, I don't feel safe at all.
This man was coming to your place where you lay your head, you and your mom Dukes, and also extended family. I have family that live in Atlanta. I have friends like yourself who live in Atlanta. For that person to plot on something like that, and the reason why he was doing this was so that he could spark the Civil War. How much do you pay attention to that talk? And how much validity do you give to it?
You know, Civil War is different, man, because like we talked about before, how do people divide themselves? You know what I mean? How do people make their known they're on one side or another? So I think that whole aspect of it is extremely confusing and too complicated for most people to try to figure out, unless they're just staunch one way or another. I think the majority of people in a situation like that are probably going to be neutral and just see what happens. But backing up to this fool, he just tried the whole Charlie Manson helter-skelter playbook. That's what Charles Manson was about. He did the whole, he killed Sharon Tate and all them and did all this crazy stuff because he thought that it would cause the white people to get upset. And because he put like, what, pig on the wall and all this type of shit and try to make it sound like it was some black revolutionaries who did it. So that was his whole playbook to go ahead and to try to incite a race war. This fool, number one, obviously was misguided. Like you say, he's going to a Bad Bunny concert. He's going to get a bunch of Hispanics who, just like anybody else in Georgia, like I said, I don't see where like the logic, he was all wrong. It was bad from the beginning. And it shows you the level of intelligence of these people who are planning things like this. Because number one, you go into another state to kill a bunch of Mexicans where you can be you're in Phoenix, you can kill a bunch of Mexicans there. Don't need to travel, bro. Don't need to catch the bad charges. Just go ahead and, you know what I'm saying, go and whack a couple of Mexicans. And that's invariably what you're going to end up doing. But you're coming to Atlanta, where's the planning? Like, where was this going to happen? This is horrible. And this is generally how these idiots who think that they're going to try to start or have a mass shooting or do something crazy think. I'm not going to say what I think was the best planned one, but there are situations where you can tell where people put the time and the effort into making sure that it will be carried out successfully. And something like this wasn't going to be carried out successfully. And to finally answer your question, I do feel safe only because I know that everybody, if I'm not strapped at that particular time, I know that everybody around me is. That's why I feel safe. And I'm generally around black people. You know what I mean? If I'm at work way out in the burbs. I know ain't nothing too crazy happening at Publix or at, you know what I'm saying, or at Hooters or something like that. I know, you know what I'm saying, it's not a type of party. But if I'm around here and I'm not strapped, I'm not really too worried about it.
So I'm gonna tell y'all, man, straight up and down. I ain't even going front. When I'm in Kroger's or I'm in Publix or wherever I'm at, I'm watching.
Head on a swivel.
I'm like, yo, dude over here looks shady. Let me move from around him. You know what I mean? Or let me watch his movements. You know what I mean? Because it's not safe. It's not safe anymore, man. And we live in the South. Don and I, we live in the South. So like he said, it's pretty much the Wild West out here where people are just definitely walking around with hammers. It's constantly hammer time. But just because people have a hammer on them, I don't feel safe because I don't trust them. That they know what they're doing. So I would feel much safer if nobody have no hammers. You know what I'm saying? If we got problems, then we have to break skin. And that's how we have to do it. But obviously, that ain't going to happen here in the United States. I just thought that was crazy to me that this guy was going to travel from Arizona all the way to Atlanta to try to set off the Civil War. And it's unfortunately millions, hundreds of thousands of other dudes out there with that same thought process. And that's the crazy thing about it. Once again, vote, because your votes can make the gun laws more strict if you vote for those candidates who are for stricter gun laws. We are continuing on to November shit, you know, damn next week, July. It's like we just at the first of the month. So it's time is flying and these laws are changing every day. And speaking of laws, the great state of Louisiana, I don't know, I should just say the good state, or let's say this, the state
of Louisiana, exactly.
Louisiana has been passing a lot of bullshit laws. They just passed a new gun law with age restrictions that you don't have to be 18 in order to carry. You don't have to have any type of license to carry. So now to double down on that, they've passed a new law with regards to the 10 Commandments. Have y'all heard that? If not,
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes, sir.
Not the 10 crack commandments, but the 10 commandments.
From kindergarten all the way up to college.
There are a lot of things that the Republicans who control every branch of government in Louisiana should be focused on right now, given that for the second consecutive year, U.S. News and World Report ranked it dead last in its best report. It's no wonder why. There's the rampant industrial pollution caused by its oil and gas industry, the 85-mile corridor between New Orleans and Baton Rouge, now known as the Cancer Alley, where a recent study found that the air is more toxic than previously thought. Unsurprisingly, as NBC News noted, that industrial corridor was once home to slave plantations before scores of petrochemical companies moved in, polluting the air that fills the lungs of the mostly Black residents. Another factor could be the state's crushing poverty. Louisiana has the second highest poverty rate nationwide and the third lowest median income of any state, ahead of only West Virginia and Mississippi. There's also Louisiana's long history of over-incarceration to fuel its use of forced labor. As of 2022, Louisiana had the second highest incarceration rate in the country, behind again Mississippi. Louisiana had been starting to turn around some of its dismal statistics under its previous Democratic governor, John Bel Edwards. In his 2 terms in office, he expanded Medicaid under Obamacare and launched a criminal justice overhaul that successfully pushed Louisiana out of the top spot as the nation's most incarcerated state. Louisiana was also making slow but steady progress in education, making improvements in testing in math, science, and social studies, as well as improvements in reading. Last year, for the first time in 5 years, reading scores for Louisiana third graders went up. But it seems there's only one thing that Louisiana's current Republican governor, Jeff Landry, seems to care about Louisiana kids being able to read.
This bill mandates the display of the 10 Commandments in every classroom in public, elementary, secondary, and post-education schools in the state of Louisiana. Because if you want to respect the rule of law, you got to start from the original lawgiver, which was Moses.
the state of Louisiana.
D, why don't you go first, please? I gotta calm down. The ignorance has got me. I didn't know about the first law ever created. I didn't know it. You gotta give me some time to digest that. I'm sorry.
Isn't this unconstitutional? Isn't there a separation between church and state? Like, what is going on right now, man? Now, the 10 Commandments is obviously from the Bible. The Bible is obviously religious. It's Christianity. So how can you force that into the public? If you have religious freedom, you also have the freedom to not be religious. So if I'm not religious and I send my kid to school, he come back with the 10 Commandments, I have a problem. If I send my kid to school and I'm a Muslim and he's going to a public school and they giving me the Bible, I have a problem with that. Now, Louisiana is a red state. I take it, right? I'm pretty sure.
Clearly.
Yeah. If they're a red state and they want a Republican president, which is their nominee is Trump, how many of those commandments is he following? Come on, bro. This is just ridiculous. I feel like I'm in some type of time machine. I feel like sometimes this shit ain't real. I'll be looking at it on my phone, my TV. I'm like, is this shit plugged in or is it just happening to me? What is going on, man? Men of a certain age tell you all the time, you have to vote, man. This is just craziness. What is going to be done about this? Can this really, I'm asking, can this just happen? Can you just violate, you know what I'm saying, the church and state? Like, what is going on? Somebody help me out here. That's why Les went to you first. I thought you was going to tell us something that could be done about it, Don. Let me know.
I definitely will, man. They're actually suing the state of Louisiana for passing this law.
Okay.
But then again, like we talked about last week, we have a system of state and federal judges who are extremely conservative, and then the end game, if they do get it that far, if they keep on opposing and losing and opposing and losing and opposing, the end game is the Supreme Court. We've already talked about how conservative they are. I didn't know that. Matter of fact, I'm not surprised. Let me use a better phrase. I'm not surprised that the governor of Louisiana would say something so ignorant as to this is the original law. I mean, obviously, we know that wasn't the original law. We got
he meant that. He meant that from the heart. He meant that, man.
Yeah, he really did. We got the principles of Harambe. We got so many different examples of law that this guy is just. It shows you how desperate these white Christian nationalists are. That's basically what it is. They are trying to use every possible way that they can legislatively, politically, economically, to get their way because they feel this country should only be a certain way for only a certain group of people. And they should tell you how it should be if you're not one of those people, and you shouldn't have a problem with it. So it goes back to that, man. Like when I first got on this, when you guys first started having me here, one of the first things I talked about was white Christian nationalism. People don't understand how serious that is and how effective it is in the society right now in causing the problems that we have, or bringing things to a final decision right now.
And the majority of that Project 2025, white Christian nationalists.
Right.
The state of Louisiana, man, I got to do better, man, than posting up the 10 commandments in every public school in Louisiana. I don't know what the purpose of that is. Is it going to be a prerequisite that each child says the 10 commandments before they go to class, or after they pledge allegiance to the flag, they're going to have to read the 10 commandments? I don't understand what the purpose of it is.
It's not a Catholic school.
For them to post the 10 commandments like that. And once again, we're going to continue on the Soup to continue to drive home how you combat foolishness within the government is by going out and voting, voice your opinion. Because if you don't, you're going to get more bullshit like this. 10 commandments in every school in Georgia, 10 commandments in every school in Tennessee, stupid stuff like that. These gun laws, the stupid gun laws that we have in Georgia, in Tennessee, and in Louisiana, basically throughout the South, which is ridiculous. The gun laws that we have, man. Again, please share, comment, and subscribe. And also hit that notification bell so when that soup is ready, that y'all be ready to come get it off of the stove. This next topic is a topic within the hip-hop culture, man. This last week, we celebrated Juneteenth, right? Shout to Juneteenth. And on Juneteenth, within the culture, there was a big signing. There was a signing with a platform and also with an entertainment system that we've come used to within the last 2 years. And what the entertainment source I'm speaking about is Verzuz. So, who was owned by Swizz Beatz and Timbaland, two major hip hop producers, right? So they signed a contract with Elon Musk to be the platform that will now show Verzuz. So let's take a look and see Roland Martin had to say with regards to it.
Oh, that's Don's man's right there, Roland.
Don don't fuck with him because he's
I know, I'm being sarcastic.
That's the reason why Don don't fuck with him. He ain't slick.
All right, folks, on this Juneteenth day, I was on social media after I played a round of golf, and I saw this story right here. I thought it was very interesting. Verzuz co-founders Swizz Beatz, Timbaland secure distribution deal with Elon Musk X. The duo maintains full 100% ownership of the platform, with X claiming exclusive distribution rights. And so you see the photo here that Linda Yaccarino, the CEO of X, and Timbaland and Elon Musk and Swizz Beatz, everybody all smiles right here. And so I saw this story. And so when I immediately saw this story, what immediately jumped out to me was you have a black entertainment platform, if you will, came about during COVID, was all about the culture, features black people, black artists, celebrating black culture, not just in the United States, from around the world. And it's going to now be distributed on a platform owned by a man from South Africa who, after he bought it, re-platformed white supremacists. This is the same Elon Musk who consistently promotes, retweets, and responds to racist content. This is the same Elon Musk who questions the intellectual ability of black pilots. The same Elon Musk who questions intellectual capability of black doctors, the same Elon Musk who frequently attacks DEI. So is this what we mean by doing it for the culture in 2024? See, this is the issue for me, and it always bugs me. That when I often see these type of deals, I often ask the question, I wonder what it would look like if Versus decided to say, you know what, we're gonna do this on Fanbase, a black-owned social media app. But let's say it's not Fanbase. Christopher Boozy, Spoutable, Spill. You've got Nate Parker, David Oyelowo's Mansa streaming service. Now, I hear this all the time. Black folks will say, do they have the capability to do those things? Guess what? When you get more followers and you get more resources, then you're able to build capacity. I've often wondered why, when I look at present day artists, and I look at how many of them talk about Black empowerment and talk about doing it for the culture. And I'm always asking, well, who's doing it for the culture? Are they cutting deals really where they get rich? Or is it actually for the culture?
Good question.
And that's exactly where we're going to start.
Good question.
That question to you, UH. Roland asked it. What's your thoughts?
It goes back to capitalism or community. It's pretty simple. On one hand, there is the great idea of America, which says that you work hard, you get a business, and then you make it profitable, then you sell it off to somebody else. That's that. But in this situation, they're not selling it. They maintain 100% ownership. It's just a matter of where they choose to get it seen at. Now, obviously, websites aren't what they used to be. And it's always good to partner with the social media team, but I definitely would see the potential of having a better conscience for myself partnering with Mark Zuckerberg than I would with Elon Musk. Kind of the whole lesser of two evils thing. But at least you know that Mark Zuckerberg isn't publicly letting you know about his racist views. He may harbor some, but it may be somewhere within their policy. They may have destroyed their DUI department, all this, that, and the other. Pardon me, which is similar to what Twitter/X did. But you don't see Mark Zuckerberg tweeting about the intelligence of Black people, the way that Black people should be treated, supporting racism. And of course, we always have to remember that Elon Musk, even though not only is he a foreigner, he's from South Africa, and he was raised on what? Apartheid. So his basic view of Black people is never going to be from an equal standing. It's always going to be from a position where he feels he's superior. So I wouldn't want to do a deal with him. I definitely would prefer to take the other alternative, which is Mark Zuckerberg, and probably has more viewers than they have on X/Twitter.
Lord, did Elon Musk strategically wait to put this out on Juneteenth?
Yeah. Listen, man. I don't trust apartheid, Clyde. Yo, they're on a boat. I saw this. I'm like, what's going on here? All three of them were on the boat when supposedly they made the decision. It's like an episode of the Boondocks. I don't know. You're on the boat with apartheid Clyde. You give him 100% of, he gets 100% of distribution, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have 100% ownership.
Mm-hmm.
Shit, if you got 100% of distribution, what difference do it make? You done gave it to apartheid Clyde. Like, again, ownership, distribution. What the fuck? Now, he's going to distribute it amongst however he wants to because he got control of distribution. And Don was saying, Swizzy and Timbaland chose capitalism over community easily because they want that money, man. You know what I'm saying? So I'm getting tired of looking at everybody's side eye, man. But jeez, what in the fuck is going on around here, man? What's up with the culture? Is it ever going to be just for the culture? I was watching Cam, and he was saying how some people love the culture and some people get in it to go further. You know what I'm saying? And that's when he was making a difference between Nas and Hov. He was like, Nas loved this shit. He gonna create the 50th anniversary, this, that, and the third. He was like, Jay-Z is in it to evolve to something else. So maybe that's what Swizz and Timbaland are in it, to evolve to something other than the culture, because they're like, fuck the culture, let me get this money.
And that's exactly how I see it. Always, it's like, how much money is enough money? I guess once you start having money, you can't do nothing but start thinking about getting more of it. It's like people, it's no morals. And I'm gonna take it back to what we were talking about earlier with Reggie. It's your history, man.
Yeah.
Not knowing your history will have you doing deals with people like Elon Musk. We've said it 100, if not 1,000 times. All money ain't good money. None of us are rich. None of us are well off. But I'm sure that there are some things that you ain't gonna do for a lump sum of money. Don, you not gonna do for a lump sum of money. But then there are those who will do anything for money. And when I saw that, man, I'm like, yo, y'all in business with this guy who is a straight up and down racist. And then secondly, the guy is announcing this
on Juneteenth
partnership on Juneteenth.
You ain't really free. You ain't really free.
And then they say Timbaland and Swizz Beatz, they didn't realize it was Juneteenth. Again, man, it's do the knowledge, man. I'm so busy just trying to chase a buck that you like, yeah, fuck it, announce it tonight, right now. And I'm here to wager within a year to a year and a half, they ain't on Twitter no more. Versus ain't on Twitter no more. You know, but that's just how it goes. They signed on for this lump sum of money, like they missing money, and compromise themselves with Elon Musk. You know, to me, it'll never be what it was during the pandemic.
No.
Exactly.
No, it won't be.
I didn't even know it was still around.
Exactly. That's what they was doing. They was fishing and searching for the right platform that was gonna pay them out, because they were at one time, it was Thriller or something that
Thriller. I remember, they were on Thriller platform, yeah.
And they were talking about how they were giving shares to the artists and all this other type stuff. I don't know what happened to that, but fast forward to last week, here they are on X. Again, man, you have to pay attention to these guys and how they moving. Once you see how they moving, how they get down. As we continue on this episode, man, I wanted to share something with y'all, man, on a positive note, to somebody that I know all three of us respect. And it's somebody that you wouldn't think that would show up on Capitol Hill, let alone in the White House. Let me share this with you, and then we're going to come back and wrap this up.
Violence directly affects me because my wife and I, we own Pharmacy for Life and Juices for Life. And that started out, I'm actually someone who has shot someone before. I am actually someone who has a possession of a felony for carrying a gun. Now, those particular things led me to where I'm at today because I had good family and enough grace from the Creator to get me in this position. But as Chubb said, I think there's some missing marks, some marks that we are highly missing. To the gentleman, 30 billion is great, but it has to be in the hood. It's 30 billion, but does anybody in here from any city have a community center in the middle of their city for the kids? It has to go to community centers. It has to go to kids, because if you want to stop gang violence, what you do is, if you would have gave them 30 billion to the kids, there would be a lot less gun violence. And then another problem is, we're in the White House of the United States of America talking about gun violence in the Black community. There are no white people here. What color? Rosenberg, I love you, dude. But there has to be white people and youth involved as well. This is the country's problem, but somehow when it comes to our community, it becomes our problem. And like Chubb said, it just becomes what we're doing, how we're doing it. America is a violent place, point blank, period. We don't make the guns. I don't know how the guns get in the city. They just start. Is this the first time this has happened? That's a problem right there. I'm not knocking you, brother. I'm just saying what we need to do. Open some community centers, invest in the community, invest in schools, start holding companies who make big corporate money responsible for when they in a community of with people of color and minorities. Start getting the money to these kids, and then the violence will tremendously go down, because a lot of us, everyone in here, no one in here is picking up a gun right now to solve anything. So are we really talking and getting to the right people? Yes, we are here. We're going to spread the message. But if you want to affect the community, you need the community there. You need some young kids who's in the gun violence and been through it, been in jail, and show them that they could change their life around. And 30 billion got to go to the community, not the corporations who pretend to care about the community. Not 2 billion went here, 4 million went there. No, get to the direct people in this room from this point on, and then go, where do we get this next batch of money going out to? How do we solve the problems? Because that's how they solve it. Because most of us, we get caught up in the lifestyle, because Chubb said, hungry belly gotta get fed, and then you're used to the neighborhood you live in, and you're used to the circumstances, and then if 10 of your friends is doing bull crap, you're likely to do it too. So then you have to start at the root and just get to the community and get the money to the community, and get where it's needed, and get the kids in here, and get the white folks in here, because it's their problem too. Love is love.
So peace to SP the Ghost, man, for going and sitting down with in that little setting at the White House, speaking about what needs to be done in the communities to affect the communities. When you see Styles P up there building like that, Lord,
He is the exact opposite of the 2025 plan, what we've been talking about. Invest in your community, invest in community centers. Give these kids something to look forward to. Give them something to do so they're not out there looking to idle time. It's what my grandmother used to say, you got too much time on your hands. You end up out there doing something stupid. Go to the boys club, or, you know what I'm saying? Go do something, man. There's a lot of money involved in the government, and they can do certain things to help communities if they want to. And I'm glad he was there to spark something, to let them know we ain't out here just killing each other. Crime is environmental, but put something in the environment to curb the crime. It's just that simple.
SP the Ghost, UH.
I love the fact that he started off talking about that, his experience as far as that's concerned, because it lets you know right away that it can affect anybody of any income level. Like you were saying earlier, do we feel safe? And we're not in the streets. We're all working men of a certain age. We obviously have what we have. We're normal people, and but at any time, our lives and or our families' lives can be interrupted by gun violence. So it's important to see that, and I'm glad to see that he's out there putting that effort forth. And I also want to harken back to when we were younger. When we were younger, there were places to go. We could go to the rec. We could go to the park. The park had rims.
Lighted schoolhouse.
It was plenty of things for us to do outside of, besides being in the streets. And this is why I always talk about programs versus community. Because when something's a program, it can be done what? It can be budgeted out. Like we know with Project 2025, they're trying to budget out certain aspects of the government. So when there are programs, after school programs and things of that nature that can be budgeted out, you can see the long-term effects of it. When we were talking about the rappers earlier, how many rappers or how many athletes have actually put into putting a community center back in the hood?
Right.
How many of them are actually giving away scholarships with, like you were saying, with all this money, how much is enough?
No.
You know, at some point or another, help pay for somebody to get to college. Help pay, set up a fund in your neighborhood so people don't have to worry about paying their rent. I understand you got yours and so on and so forth, and you came up and you're resilient, you may have pulled yourself up, but there are plenty of people down below that I'm sure that you would rather help and see in the position closer to you than you would have to be afraid of them trying to take it from you. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's the long-term effect of giving back to us, because it only strengthens us and makes us better.
Yeah.
Once again, it all goes back to voting. Point in case, when we started high school, we had Upper Bound, we had Mayor Summer Youth, we had Lighted Schoolhouse, and all of those types, the Boys and the Girls Club. By the time we graduated from high school, all of those programs we're done for. You know what I'm saying? And we can look straight directly to the Reaganomics with that. Reaganomics was the part that killed off all of those programs. I could remember one time they were talking about vegetables in schools, and they were talking about whether kids have ketchup. That could be
deemed a vegetable. But yeah, that's true. Good point.
And that again, that was the GOP who ain't down with me. That was them and their policies and their things that they cut and stripped from the budget, which was directly affecting the inner cities and different things of that nature. We talk about all the time, man, and I've always said, Jay-Z, Mr. Billionaire, where is the rep? Where is the community center in Marcy, in Brooklyn? It's, yo, you got all this money. You could put a community center in the hood. You know what I mean? That teaches kids computer skills, that teaches kids a trade. All of this type of stuff that can be done, but yet and still you want to go sign a contract with Elon Musk, who don't give a damn about the culture at all. At some point, man, people got to take a look around and say, man, I've got enough. Let me share some of my wealth. Let me reach back and pull this 2 or 3 people up so that they can pull back another 2 or 3, and that person can pull up another 2 and 3. It's just, you know, capitalism is a good thing, but greed is not good. We've all seen Gordon Gekko, and he talked about greed is good. My pop's favorite saying was, a pig gets fat, but a hog gets slaughtered. You know what I'm saying? And it's, yo, when are you going to have your fill? I guess that is not the American way. This pot of the soup is ready to come off of the stove before I cut off the irons and put the top on the soup, man. You got anything you want to share with the people, man?
Yeah, man, I want to talk real quick. And I was contemplating whether to talk about this or not, because we keep on going back to the same thing. But I really want, voting. I really want to talk to people about white Christian nationalism. I want y'all to really understand that these people have the idea of America as being a party on New Year's Eve, traditionally. Then you have Hallmark for Valentine's Day, a mandatory Easter, 4th of July. I skipped over Juneteenth.
Yeah.
4th of July, Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. They don't have any cultural bend. They want America to be just as it's supposed to be during the 1950s, the Dwight Eisenhower style. And that way of life is never, ever coming back. So it's important that we vote not only for our interests, but against people as well, because there are certain people who don't want to see us free, who don't want to see us have what they have, who never wanted to see us have any type of success, whether it be a black person, whether it be a person from another country, whether it be a white person from a poorer from a poorer neighborhood. You know what I mean? So we really have to understand that these are systems and there are people in place who are constantly working against us. And we need to be serious about moving forward as a whole. That's all I have to say.
Nicely said, my guy.
Yes, sir.
Double, what you got for the people, man?
Yo, short and sweet, man. If you're an intelligent person, you'll figure out a way to do what you love. You know what I mean? If you're a genius, you're going to do exactly what is needed. That's from Uncle P, men of a certain age.
Thanks for the words of encouragement, Panero.
I like that.
For my man, for P Double, I'm Les. As always, it's the same old soup, man. We just reheating it. Until next time, peace.
Peace to my guys.